Nateurious, guys, season 1.
Do you think I went too far? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Nateurious. I am really excited today because I'm introducing one of my favorite people. He has helped me become more beautiful, and he is an aesthetic injector nurse for the A-list and somebody that I regard so highly. But this is Rand Rusher.
You're too kind.
So it's so nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about always A-list. I always treat everyone as an A-lister, I guess you could say, because everyone's face is important to them.
Yeah, I love that. I think that one reason to trust you just to start off is because you look so amazing.
Oh, again, you're being too sweet.
How old are you?
58, if you have to. 59 soon.
I mean, that's just crazy. It's just insane.
Well, I've been in this business for almost 20, I think this year is 25th year.
1996.
Yeah.
So tell me what sets you apart.
A lot of doctors, including your OBGYN, dentists now, there's a lot of people jump into the aesthetic field, and I'm okay with all of it as long as they want to take it, own it, learn it, and then do it on a regular or consistent basis.
Instead of like throwing a Botox party at their house.
Exactly. If you're busy and you're good, you don't have time to throw Botox parties.
Right. So what you're saying is that OBGYNs and dentists are now turning to injectors to learn how to do this. And why are they doing that?
Well, unfortunately, in medicine right now, you're not making as much money because insurance doesn't want to pay. So you've got these people that really, they're smart and they need to make some money. Again, I don't have a problem with everyone doing it as long as they become proficient at it.
Right.
And again, own it and study it. I teach for 2 pharmaceutical companies. I still go to classes when I can. I was at the Jules Stein Institute doing a class on complications.
Right. Which pharmaceutical companies?
Galderma, which owns Restylane.
Okay.
And there's products in Dysport. And then there's Allergan that has a Juvederm portfolio and Botox. Remember, all these neuromodulators now, that's Botox, that's Dysport, that's Jeuveau, and that's Xeomin. Mm-hmm. So in the U.S., we have 4 different kinds of toxins. Mm-hmm. Everyone says Botox, but that's like saying Kleenex.
Okay. Where are these being made?
Well, Ireland
Mm-hmm.
and Irvine.
Mm-hmm.
Jeuveau is now made in Korea.
Okay.
And Xeomin, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure where that one is. It's not as big as the others per se.
Okay. I remember you telling me on multiple occasions, and I'd love for you to tell everyone else how you practice and what you practice on.
Wait. I'm not sure what I've
said. The hands and the...
I'm not sure what I've said.
The corpses.
Oh, the cadaver classes.
Cadaver class.
Cadaver classes.
Cadaver class.
Right,
Oh, my God.
Well, that's how you get good at your anatomy. I mean, listen, they're not, some people call them fun. I don't necessarily call them fun but they're necessary and they're amazing. I unfortunately always get a headache from the formaldehyde after a few hours.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine what that's like. So I think really that's like the difference, that you are practicing consistently versus someone else who is maybe not doing this full time.
Right. Well, what is it as a medical practice is practice.
Right.
So if you're only doing this once in a while, then of course you're never going to get as good as if you're doing something.
Right. But what really though sets you apart from me when I look at other providers in Los Angeles is they're really going overboard. They're doing the pillow face and they're taking 20-year-old girls and they're kind of making them look like they're 35.
That's exactly right. This is the thing that I'm asked to give a lecture soon, and I think as I told my Elizabeth, and I'm going to light everyone's hair on fire. I plan on talking about this thing. Everyone says they do natural. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the big buzzword. Oh, I do natural. Well, clearly, people aren't doing this natural. Mm-hmm. And of course, I like to tease people, and when they come in, they go, I want to look natural. And I go, well, you do. How about natural-ish? And what I mean by that is You don't get rid of every wrinkle. You don't get rid of every line. You don't try to do that. You see, the big thing on this, if you want to look good, is you want to make someone look healthy. And if they look healthy, people are attracted to them and they assume you're younger. But to come in and try to make yourself look younger is kind of, you better be careful. You're going to end up tripping over that. And as I said to you many times too, perfect gets perfectly odd at a certain point, because
that's so beautifully
when you're 60,
stated.
if you're lineless, it's kind of weird, isn't it? What people don't realize is, okay, we're using hyaluronic acid.
Okay.
And hyaluronic acid is found in those orchids.
It's found in my holy water and my beauty
probably,
products.
But
it's also found in the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where it is. It's in living organisms. It basically binds water. It holds water.
Okay. So which products have hyaluronic acid?
Well, all of the HAs that are Juvederm, Restylane, Kybella, Velour, I mean, they're all of the HAs that I use mostly. We have other products that are biostimulating or collagen stimulating, like Sculptra and Nateurious. Those products do something different. But HA products are also removable with an enzyme. So they're much more safe. But
safe compared to what?
Well, safe compared to products that you can't remove.
Like?
Radius is very difficult to get rid of. It's a calcium product.
Radius. And what is that? Is that
It's a filler. It's a filler. It's a calcium. So it's naturally found in us, bone. But if you get into trouble with it, you can't immediately inject something to break it down or get rid of it.
Okay.
Well, you can, but that's a whole nother story, but it's hard.
So why are women from, let's say, the 90s having issues with their lips today? Because there's something that they were putting in their lips back then.
Oh, well, there's lots of things. We back then, a soft form is one was called, and that's Gore-Tex threads. So the same thing in your tennis shoes, they've put in their mouths.
Wow.
But there's also silicone injections, freeform silicone.
Silicone.
Yeah.
That seemed to be an issue.
It's an issue because we're not permanent, and you're putting something permanent in something that's not permanent.
I see.
So that might stay exactly where it was placed, although it can also migrate up to 12 years.
Okay.
But you're going to change, right? So even if that stayed there, it can look weird or different.
As you age. Yeah. So why don't we talk about your aesthetic and what you've done for me? Because I'm completely transparent with everyone I talk to, and I'm about truth and honesty. So I'm completely fine with you telling the audience what you've done. My producer, Jess, said the most incredible thing. She said, it's a treatment plan for as you age. And you kind of just don't want to go to someone who's doing injections at their house who's not really coming up with a plan and working with you as you age. So I started working with you 4 years ago in 2016. I didn't have Botox until I turned 35. I started using Retin-a when I was 29, and I think that's what really saved me.
For sure.
But let's talk about your aesthetic.
Well, what it is that you said, we really haven't done much.
Right.
To you, like we haven't touched your lips.
Right. Oh, yeah, because everyone thinks that I have lip injections. You can see my baby pictures. And your lips are real,
They're not
too.
injected either. I know.
Everybody thinks he has.
If someone has naturally full lips anymore, everyone thinks you're injected. But
right.
Clearly it's about math. Lips are always about math.
Right.
This is where people are doing this wrong now, is they see these big lips on someone that has a wide cheek, jaw, and eyes or nose, and they think they want it. And these little white girls who put on these giant lips, it's the math that looks wrong. Right. And unfortunately, so many injectors now don't even take a look at the math to realize the width of the lip stops with the nose. Right. And all these people are injecting from this here to this here, and it's ugly.
But why are they doing it? Why are they making these 20-year-old girls look like this? You're like one of the few who won't do it. You'll turn somebody away.
Absolutely.
But why do you think that that's a rarity?
Well, it's an unfortunate. There's a few reasons. They don't really have a very good aesthetic eye.
Yeah.
They make more money when they inject more. And a lot of times people just jump into the fray like, I like those too. I love my lips big and huge, and I don't care. With younger people now, it's becoming a badge. I paid for my lips. Those are mine. I can do that. completely different than people in the past, the baby boomers especially, or even Gen Xers. They were not really want anyone to know.
Right.
Millennials now, I absolutely, and the bigger the better, and the more they want. It's just I've been doing this long enough that when we started, no one thought about what's going to happen in 20 years.
Right.
But we also started on 30-something-year-olds, not 19-year-olds.
Right, which is kind of scary.
Well,
What are they going to look like when they are 35?
Well, no one looks that far ahead now, do they? Especially when you're 21. You don't ever think about when you're 40 what you're going to look like. You
I
think you
did.
won't care.
I did. I thought about it all
Did
the
you?
time. Yeah. I couldn't wait for it because I thought I'm going to, and this is what you and I have talked about. I've mentioned this too. Like, I can't wait for my late 30s because I found women to be their most beautiful.
Absolutely.
At that time.
What they're doing is they're taking these 19 or 20-year-olds and you're adding in cheekbones and things that they would get once they start atrophying a little bit as you age, and they show better, and you get rid of the baby fat. Well, now people are putting all that in, and yet I really do challenge, what are these girls that are 21, they now look 36 or 7, what is going to happen, or what are they going to look like in 10 years? Now, if they are paying attention and don't keep just doing a little bit here and there, but that's unfortunately not what usually people do. They
Right.
get very easily like, oh, my lips, they're all gone. I still have patients even come in and say, it's gone. And I'm like, we just did it 3 months ago, and this product lasts a year,
Okay.
18 months. And they're not all gone. You like that feeling. Because remember when you come in, it's a little bit of a high to walk out and feel like you've done something for yourself.
Yeah.
And they come in for that feeling. They can still look good, but of course you don't make
Everybody
money
wants
when you
the
tell
feeling.
someone you don't need it right
Right.
now. And again,
you
you're
do that, and you do that often.
all the time.
Yeah.
Because if I do something right and I keep you looking right, you'll come back all year after year after year.
Yeah,
it's
that's
the long game.
Yeah.
It's not the short game.
It's
the
the
long
treatment
game.
plan, as Jess said. It's the treatment plan. I love
It
that,
is.
right? Let's come up with a treatment plan for the next 20 years
That's
on
right.
how to make you age beautifully.
That's right.
I love that.
Well, you actually have very little. You have a tiny bit in your cheeks. And
What do I have in my cheeks?
You have voluma in your cheeks.
Yeah.
And then
And you did the voluma in 2017,
Yep.
right?
So it's almost
2017.
2 years?
3 years. We're in 2020.
Oh, God.
And then recently you did,
We did a little Botox to lift your brow.
yeah, and then,
On
but
the
then
tail.
you just filled here.
I did a little in your temples to help that.
What,
Because again,
what did you put in my temples?
Let's see, one of the Juvederms.
It was
Juvenile
you-
Ultra Plus.
Yeah, you said let's
Do that first to see
and
if you like
because
it.
that lasts how long?
A year. This is an area in your temples that can last a very long time.
And we've done some Botox.
Between your brows, yeah.
And let's talk about.
Did we ever do anything in your neck?
We have. The last time we did was in the summer. Oh, and let's talk about my absolute favorite treatment that you did for me.
Which was?
Oh my
You have
gosh.
to remind me.
Okay, so my absolute favorite treatment that you did was when you put the Botox in my masseters.
To kind of shrink the face this way.
So meaning that this was going to look more pronounced,
Right.
and this was going to kind of be
Defined
angled
down,
in.
yes.
So this, I think, is really what makes someone more beautiful when they have a more defined jawline, and you do the Botox here, it shrinks it down.
Right, but that's also at a certain age you can do that, and at a certain age you have to stop doing that in a way.
Because it creates jowls.
Yeah.
So when do you have to stop doing
It's
it?
all dependent on how he looks. It has no age. There's no age. I have women in their 50s that still look incredible, and they don't need a facelift. They don't need anything.
Okay.
But if you start to weaken this area when this is starting to come down, you'll make that experience go faster. Because
Okay.
remember, stuff back here still keeps it back.
Right.
And a lot of people, when they kind of deflate, things start coming forward. That's why we inject into this area to bring this all back up.
Say which area that is, because some people are listening and not watching.
Well, in the cheeks. When these start to flatten your malar and right here, when this comes down, then everything comes down.
Let's talk about what you can do in your 20s that really prevents versus what ages injection wise.
Sunscreen. I mean, come on, let's be honest. When you're 20, if you really protect your skin from damage, that's that's prevention. And if you want to start using Retin-a,
which I think is...
You can start doing that.
I lather my jaw in
it's
Retin-a.
not... Well, Retin-a isn't for
age.
everyone. Some people who don't retinize or have really sensitive skin, that's maybe not for them. I can't use Retin-a much. I just light up like a match.
Well, when I first started using it, I was 29, and it ripped my face apart for 3 months straight. And actually, my doctor got me a prescription from France, and I love it. And somebody wrote a question and said, they sent a question in, and they said, how do we prevent the smile lines in the face? And for me, I notice a huge difference, yes, with the sunscreen, yes, with sleeping on your back,
yes,
but also to mix the acid with Retin-a, meaning to do a P50 exfoliator and then to do Retin-a and to combine those two treatments.
Well, they're both acids, actually. Tretinoic acid is Retin-a, so
okay.
It's just the combination of the two.
But do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you also want to be careful. Acid's also thin. Where a lot of people think Retin-a thins the skin, it actually exfoliates, but the dermis gets thicker from it.
Yeah.
So it's a little more of a long term. And that's, again, always think the long game, because you want to look good your whole life.
Right.
And right where you are. And looking good at 50 is still looking good, but it's different than looking good at 30. It's if you're trying to hold on to your youth, it just doesn't work like that. It's
right.
like embrace where you are and look the best that you can where you are.
Right.
And then,
So let's say skincare wise, it's sunscreen, it's the way you sleep, it's Retin-a, it's acid, like a P50, hyaluronic acid.
Well, hyaluronic acids are nice topical, but let's talk about that for just a split second. Putting hyaluronic acid in a cream is just moisturizing.
It's temporary.
Yes, it doesn't actually pass the skin barrier.
Right, because it's too big.
Too big of a molecule.
It's too big of a molecule.
That's why we inject it.
Right. Okay, so injection-wise, what can you do to prevent?
Okay, well, it's a little deep topic, but if you want to do Botox in your corrugators, or your 11s, as people call it, which makes me a little crazy, but between your brows, the frown, those are depressor muscles. There will always be depressor muscles. So if you want to start doing some Botox to make sure your frown stays away, I'm going to agree with you. If you want a little bit around your eyes for your crow's feet, again, your orbicularis oculi, part of that is camera lenses. It just squeezes like this. So it's a depressor. So if you want to put a little bit there. But remember, your forehead, those are called your frontalis, and those are levators, and that means they keep your brow up. So a lot of people don't like lines in their brow, so we start Botoxing that. However, you're going to prevent your wrinkles. But remember, muscles that hold things up give up. They give up. So to inject those...
And aren't you teaching that? You told me that you're actually teaching that it's not preventative to Botox this part of the face because it makes the face sag over time.
Over time, your face sags anyway. Remember, the muscle gives up just because of use and age and life and gravity and all that. So to start injecting that really young, all I'm telling you is just save your money for your brow lift. Because you won't have any wrinkles in your forehead, but I'm afraid that you're atrophying the muscle that is going to hold up your brows.
So you're atrophying the muscle here?
Yeah. Anywhere you put a neurotoxin, all those that we talked about, does that over time. And we want it to do that over time. We want it to make this frown line kind of just go away or weaken.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 25 years in my brow. That one, I hate frown lines on me. You know, when you're young, you're in your 20s, it's kind of sexy to have that angst look.
Yeah.
Well, when you're 50 and you have that, it's no longer sexy. It's crabby old man. You kids get off the lawn. I didn't want that, right? So again, it's where you are in life.
Yeah.
And I personally don't like the frown, so I kind of go for that one. But I don't really Botox my forehead anymore, again, because a certain age, it would look weird if I had a smooth forehead. because it doesn't look like my neck or my hands.
So I have a confession to make. I love the sun, and I get a little bit too much sun, but I have to do a lot of repairing after. I have to do a lot of lasers and a lot of treatments to then fix the damage.
And I have a woman that, a very wealthy woman, loves to travel, go to France for the summer and all this kind of thing. And she would go get sun damage. She would come back. We would fix it. She would go. She would fix it.
Over
I'm
time.
only telling you, you're playing with the devil's tail, meaning your skin's going to get worse by doing that than if you just, I don't know, did nothing almost. Because it's too much. It's like when you repair a table and you take off the old and it looks so much better. Well, what if you just kept stripping it all the time?
Right.
It's not going to always look so much better as you get older. So there's this thing with, like, I don't really like those washing brushes, Clarisonics on your face.
Yeah, because
I think that's too much. I mean, if you want to do that once a week, but these people are doing it twice a day.
I don't do that.
No,
I do an oil cleanser, which I'm coming out with, which gives it a lot of hydration, especially in LA because it's so dry here. But to your point about Retin-a, a lot of people ask me, doesn't it thin the skin? I have thick skin. My skin tends to be red, but one benefit about it is that it is thick. But
I have the same kind.
Yeah, I don't, and that's the best kind of skin to actually have. Yeah. So
it's genetics.
Blessed,
it's genetics too.
We're blessed
with
with lips and thick skin. But Retin-a does not thin the skin over time.
No, it really doesn't. It thickens the dermis, deeper layer. It exfoliates here's a good example. I'll use my age. If you're in your 20s, your skin turns over roughly every 28 days.
Okay.
Until you're about 30 or 28 or whatever. And then it's a day per year. So if I'm not using a retinol of some sort.
A day per year? Say that
so
again?
Mine would be turning over every 58 days.
Every 58 days?
Instead of every 28 days. So Retin-a or any of even the less retinols still help in turning over your skin. And that's why skin looks nice, is we have this rejuvenation or this turning over.
Like a snake.
Yes. So Retin-a or any of those kind of products helps keep it up.
Yeah.
Right?
I love when I get a good peel from my Retin-a. I'm like, oh, the baby skin is coming. This is going to be amazing.
But then again,
week.
You want to take care of it and not throw it in the sun.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive, right? My thing that I'm hopefully known for, and the thing I'm trying to get everyone else in the industry to realize, is filler and toxin should all be based on movement. I've even trademarked the line.
Meaning the face should move.
Well, movement is youthful.
Yeah.
When we first started doing Botox, the bad side effect was frozen. Now people come in and they go, look what I can do. And you're like, yeah, you're supposed to be able to do that if you can. But now they want to be frozen. And the thing is, frozen isn't young. You look at a 27-year-old girl who's moving her forehead. She's got some wrinkles and she looks every bit 27. Now you cut to a 47-year-old woman who is smooth as a baby's butt. She does not look 27. She looks like she's got Botox. So that's the thing you want to be careful of, is too much. At least I think you do, right? And again, I will make people look frozen if that's what they want. Quite a few years back, I had an actress who was playing someone who was in high school, but she was only 21. And she wanted Botox around her eyes. And I said, but 16-year-olds have crow's feet when they move. So I lost her as a patient. And I thought, okay, I don't need to be everyone's dad. So if you want no lines for Botox, I'll do that for you. If you want lips that look like I licked them and stuck them on the wall, I can't do those. Because I don't think that's pretty, nor do I think that's... It's not what I find, and I think you find someone for their outlook or their assessment or what they think is beautiful, right? You found me because...
Well, I found you because you've done work on people that I find to be the most beautiful.
Yes, you happen to know some people that are famous that I do. But,
yes, and they have incredible work, so I trust them. I love your aesthetic, so it really comes down to the aesthetic, like you said, and not going overboard.
Well, the thing is, in my clinic, we talked about this, or what I try to teach or do is movement. Okay, so we'll go back to that. And I've even trademarked, I don't get you ready for your portrait. I get you ready for your life.
That is so beautiful.
Well,
These
I should have added
one-liners.
selfie, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the reason I say that is because we have these photos that we see, but we see you in 4D. So your profile I see, your everything I see, and you don't. When I do filler, and you know this, I make you make the most ridiculous faces. I even make, when I do lips, I make people say I work out every Wednesday in my purple sparkly leotard. I say these things because the mouth moves, and when you're talking to your friends, your mouth is going to move. When you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and everyone gives themselves their sex face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, but we don't really, well, some of us see you that way maybe, but, we don't really look at you that way.
Right.
That you look at yourself. And this is where we have to be careful, because what we feel is our look, okay, but we don't see many of us don't, most of us don't see ourselves the way we look. This is also to detriment to a lot of people. Do you know, I had a very famous woman come into my office, and I'd take care of her, but not her lips. And she said, I want my lips done. And I said, do you know that I have people bring your photos in and want your lips? Why are we messing with famous lips that people bring your photo in to have them mimicked?
What did she say?
She didn't care.
Um,
She wanted her lips done.
I know.
Although she's backed off because, again, I think the tabloids and, she already had full lips like you or I. There was really no need for
Right.
more.
So when I come in, I'm like, Rand, what do I need? You're like, nothing. I'm like, no, I want something.
Okay, well, because again, that's what I say. No one needs this stuff, but if you want it,
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And when you come in and say, I need, I'm like, no, you want it. Okay, let's talk about why and what you want out of it. Just because, again, you want a little more cheek or definition, then okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Or if you ask me my opinion, of course I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, with me and my patients or clients, they become friends, and then I look at you differently. I have to put on the glasses of, okay, here's, what you're seeing, not you as my friend, because, again, I don't think anyone needs it.
Right. Well, so let's talk about going from your 40s to your 50s.
Okay.
What starts to change structurally?
Well, what's really funny is it's this thing, because I've been there. You really are your best looking usually in your late 30s. And if you've taken
I
care
like
of yourself.
myself better. I'm 40. I like my face better
40
now
is
than
terrific.
ever.
As long as
I
you've
hope
kind of
it's not
taken care
downhill.
of.
I hope I just can
Well, you want
keep
me to
on-
tell you that it's going to happen in about 4 years.
Oh, fuck. No, it's not.
Yeah,
You're not
there's
putting
a little tap on the shoulder, and someone's got a little age bat, and they give you one little slap with it.
So
around
what
44,
happens at
45.
44, 45?
You start to see a softening right through here,
A softening.
a softening.
What does
And
that mean?
We usually see a softening kind of around the mouth and the oral commissures, or you can say the
Your
jowls
jowls.
a little bit.
At 44, 45?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see it. Some people do see it in their early 40s.
Yeah.
Some see it. Some don't see it
Some
until
see
their
it in their-
late 40s.
Oh, I'm not going
And
to see
some
it till
people
I'm
see.
70.
Some people see it in their late, really late 30s. Again, Jen, it's all about genetics first.
My mom
Genetics are first.
and my brother's here, and I think he can attest to this. So my mom is 63, right? She was good until she was 56. There was her jaw. Would you say? I would say
They say there's a change.
7 years ago.
There's a change every 7 years. That's
So-
what they say. They say there's a change every 7 years. It's basically you turn a corner, and it's horrible.
Really?
But as you get older, when you turn a corner, it's, let's remember, as we start aging, aging ticks up, goes faster as you get older,
But
right?
also, I mean, listen, I see a lot of women my age who look great, and I
Mm-hmm.
see women who don't look so great, and I really think it's their belief system,
Sure.
and
course.
they think, oh, I'm so old, I'm 40. I don't feel that way. I'm like, I'm young, I'm beautiful, and I really think it's a mental attitude that you have to have about yourself and how you
Absolutely.
feel about yourself.
Absolutely. This is why I you caution people. I want to instill this whole idea. And here's something that's interesting, I think, or what changed my outlook a few years back. because I'm human too and thinking all this stuff, and I've had plenty of things done. It's just that my patient told me I didn't like a photo I saw. And she said, and I said, oh, I'm 50 something at the time, and she was 70. She goes, I'd kill you right now to be 50 again. She goes, Ren, let me tell you something. You know those photos that you saw when you were 30?
And you didn't thought you looked
thought
old?
you looked old?
Oh, yeah.
And you saw them later and you loved them. She goes,
Yeah.
that never stops.
Yes, I know.
When you look back
Yeah.
at 60, when you're 80,
Yeah.
you're going to, what was I bitching about?
Yeah.
So when that kind of drove home, I'm like, oh. So the takeaway is enjoy everywhere you are right now, because we don't go backwards, not even 5 minutes.
But I want to go back into those 40s and 50s,
Okay.
right? And I want to talk about, because really what we start to worry about is the jawline. So are there preventive things we can do for that jawline? Is like the French interfacial massage preventing? Is the Retin-a preventing? Or do we all have to end up with
Yes.
with some kind of facelift?
Well, we don't have to. But yes, if you want. Here's the thing: is you have to realize sometimes you do more to look less done.
Right.
Having a lower facelift will make you look more like yourself than jamming too much filler and toxin in, because you're now changing the shape more than you had, and you're knocking out muscles that maybe you shouldn't, or maybe you should,
Right.
but that will make you look more
Like
fiddled
yourself.
with than if you just did a nice lower facelift
Right.
at a certain time.
At
when
what
you see it.
age?
Well, usually your late 40s, so you don't have what I call the ta-da.
What's a ta-da?
Ta-da! Who did your face? It looks so good. That's a ta-da. And you don't necessarily want the ta-da. You want, God, Jena looks good. What the hell what is she doing kind of thing? Because
Yeah.
at a certain point I won't say names of celebrities, because I was just thinking of one of my patients who looks so good. Clearly she's done some facelifts and things, but she looks so good.
Yeah.
And so not fiddled with, but you know she must have done something, because there's no way that age of a woman looks as good as she does.
Yeah, so how do you know which doctor then to go to or who to trust?
Well, again, you do your homework. You see who's been doing facelifts for 30 years. You look at their before and afters. You talk to your friends.
For me, it's you talk to your friends.
Right. Well, because your friends are a little more open, and we're in Los Angeles. But
Right.
here's the thing that's going to, I think, showing. This is getting more and more mainstream, and people are getting less and less scared or less and less to talk. Do you know there's only like 12 million people that have done neurotoxin?
No.
That's it.
Wow.
65 million people are thinking about it or are eligible.
Wow.
Do you want to know the biggest reason why?
12 million have done Botox or filler, and 65 million are thinking about it.
Do you know why? Think about why. Why would this not be going faster? Oh my God.
Because they're embarrassed to talk about it.
No, they're afraid. Because all you see is the bad work. If it's done well, you don't notice it. So when you see someone with stuff, if it looks great, but if it's like, what the hell is... My favorite is when my patient tells me when she comes in that she was at a dinner party. You see, actors get it all the time. They're out in public and everything. But for us regular people, you know what the kiss of death is? The dinner party. Because where do we look when we're talking to each other? We look at eyes and mouth. But when you're at the dinner party and your friend and you're turned to the side and you're looking at someone's lips at that angle, and now you have this whole idea where she's not or he's not looking at you, so you start looking at them. And men don't know what's wrong, but they know something isn't right. And they'll get in the car and they'll turn to their wife and they've said, don't you dare do any of that, whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
And they come into me and they go, Rand, I've been doing this before I met him.
Yeah.
He just
'Cause
doesn't
it's good
see
work,
it on me.
Because
And
that's good work.
there you go.
Right. Well, so for me, you know what my main concern is, and this is something I want to mention. So I have this chin that I was born with. It didn't come about when I was like 30. I just don't have that defined of a chin. So I really want
Kybella.
to get this off. But the Kybella, for example, I feel like these newer procedures that come out, you kind of have to wait and see what happens, because Kybella is a procedure where you inject some kind of enzyme, right, that dissolves.
Yes, let me see. I teach this, so I should be able to remember what it comes from bile. So basically, what it does, it's natural. It goes in and it explodes fat.
Right.
Right.
But it was causing some people's chin to sag even more.
What they said is we have 93% skin tightening, and to be really honest, even though, like I said, I work for these companies, a lot of people don't get skin tightening. So I think you do have to be careful, but a lot of people do get skin tightening. So
but when did that procedure come out?
I think it got FDA approved like 2 years ago. It's been used in Europe, mesotherapy with stuff. It's just that it comes with some risks, of course.
And the
not
risk
a lot
could
of
be
risks.
that it could sag more.
Right.
So,
but it's not like it hurts you, or it's not like you're going to get something, because it is a natural product. It's just you might not get the results that you want.
Right.
You see, going in and having a liposuction done on your neck, one and done. Where Kybella or even the generic
but the lipo,
version of
will that
make
it sag more to have the lipo?
No, usually because what they do, they use a vaser, and the liposuction, they can turn it around and get some skin tightening with it.
They compress it afterwards, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
So
why
I should
Kybella
get a little bit of
has
lipo and
that's why
compression?
Kybella hasn't taken off as much as the drug company would like.
Right.
Although we're using it in other areas in the face.
Like where?
Around the mouth, which I've done people, or
to
for
do what?
people's jowls. You can
Okay.
actually inject into that jowl, which there's some fat. I can show you some really great before and afters of that.
So something like Kybella that's been on the market for 2 years, that's kind of basically why I wanted to wait and see.
And that's fair. I believe you never want to be the first one on your block to try something new, because I've done this. Remember, 25. I've gotten caught with, let's do the newest, greatest thing, and then it comes around. I'll use this in threading threads. I have several classes, some private classes.
Is this like the ribbon facelift?
No, it's the thread lift.
Okay.
To the point where you come in and there are polylactic acid. They're threads of sculpture material, and you place them under the skin and you pull up. It works well on some people, but it is not the end-all be-all on every person. Again,
How long has it been around?
well, this version has been around now for the last few years. It was out probably 10 years ago, maybe, with non-absorbing threads.
Okay.
Now the threads absorb. So even if you don't like them, they go away.
Okay.
The other threads didn't, and you can have some more puckering and some other things that go along with that. Remember, everything has an opposite.
Right.
Even though if it ends up good, there's still a possibility of you not liking it. And this is why hyaluronic acids and things, I think, have grown so quickly and are way more safe, because they're removable.
Right.
Remember, the longer
And they're not toxic for the body, because your body is producing hyaluronic acid.
Yes, we have that. We also have the enzyme that's called hyaluronidase, which as we get older, we get more of, and that's the enzyme that breaks hyaluronic acid down.
Okay.
So now we have that injectable, so we can use it if you say, I don't like the filler under my eyes. Or even worse, if you get it into a blood vessel, we can try to get it out of there immediately. So it's safer.
So something I want to mention and talk about and get into is, I have a very firm stance on medical freedom, that I have the choice to get Botox or not get Botox, and I want the choice to be vaccinated versus not be vaccinated. I don't want anyone to force me what to do. And I know that there's going to be people that come on here and they're going to say, she's anti-vax, which is not true. I want, and what I propose is that I want my vaccines tested for safety, and I want to know where they're made, because there's different grades of vaccines. And so for Botox, a lot of people wrote questions and they said, is this safe? It is a toxin. What is the long-term effect? Does it cause Alzheimer's disease? And so before you get into it,
Okay.
I saw this Kybella come to the market. I remember in 2016, I first saw it in your office, and I said, I'm going to sit back and
Has it already
wait.
been 4 years?
It was 2016, 2017, and I'm like, I'm going to sit back and wait because I knew it was a newer procedure. So Botox, how long have you been injecting Botox? And
Since 1996, so let's just say 25 years, right?
Okay.
But it's been around since the 40s, 50s, 60s. They've been using it, testing it, and doing. Well, it came to fruition sooner for strabismus or cross-eyed, and they were injecting it around there, and they realized an injection that not only did the eyes relax, so they weren't crossed anymore, the wrinkles went away, and now we know that Botox relaxes or lets the muscle relax around. So that's why when you relax a muscle, the wrinkle goes away.
Okay.
It's why it's now FDA approved or approved for migraines.
Yeah.
Because they know it works for a lot of people.
Right.
Hyperhidrosis for excessive sweating. We, besides crow's feet now, I mean, we have cosmetic FDA approval, which is huge. But this product was actually for dystonia or even bladder issues it's being used for now. So this product is extremely safe.
Bladder for what?
To relax the bladder. I mean, it's being used for so many things and over 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, 30 years of clinical data.
Yeah. So for me, I don't really trust the FDA, but what I do trust is that it's been around and being used for 30 years. So when someone says, does it cause Alzheimer's, or how are you injecting this toxin into you? This
is my favorite. Are those people holding their martini when they're asking you about their toxic or their toxin? I mean, again, let me explain it this way. Aspirin, amazing if you take 2 of them or 1 a day.
Yeah.
Awful if you take the bottle. It's the same with Botox.
Right.
The right amount of units is pretty amazing, and it's used in children. And the reason why there's fear or black box warning of death is because there were some deaths when they gave young children giant doses to get contracted arms to release, things like that. Well, unfortunately, those children weren't healthy in the first place. And then trying to do these things, and it was some angry parents that insisted on it. And again, it's the amount of units. It isn't the unit itself, it's the amounts that you want to be careful of.
Does it stop working over time?
If we see someone that builds up antibodies, which is much more rare since they took out more of the protein of the toxin, so we don't see that. It's much rarer than it when it first came out in the 90s before it got FDA approved. And I know you don't believe in FDA approval, but I will say this for them. The FDA does so many more trials, and you have to do so much hoop jumping. There's over 200 different hyaluronic acids in Europe, and we have like 12.
Right.
So you can say what you want, but ours are way more studied and way more rigorous, and almost to its own detriment in some ways, and yet much safer because they've had to jump through these hoops.
Right.
And the same with all the neurotoxins. They've really, really had to jump through hoops.
My issue with the FDA, and this is so off topic, is that the FDA is in bed with big pharma, and the FDA is being run by the CDC, it's like a revolving door between all of them.
I agree with you, but they also do some really nasty things to each other. A few years back, Allergan got because they were starting to promote it a little bit too quickly for migraines, and there was a $600 million lawsuit they had to pay.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, they're in bed with each other, and yet they screw each other in every chance they can get over money just as well.
It's so political.
Probably even need to talk about that, but yes, it is.
So I want to go into some questions that I got. So for lip injections, somebody asked me, do I have to keep on doing lip injections since I started them? And you and I talked a little bit off camera about scar tissue. So can you talk about that a little?
Sure. The thing is, if you start injecting lips when you're younger, I have quite a few ladies who've had lip injections over the years, since collagen days, right? And a lot of times, every time we stick a needle in you, you can develop scar tissue. So some people are going to develop scar tissue, and therefore it'll stay longer and longer and longer. Also, lips relax. After doing it repeatedly, a lot of times they just relax. It is a muscle and all that, and it just over
What does
time.
that mean, relax? Is that a good or a bad thing?
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's a good, I mean, if you want fuller lips, and
It's
you're
a good
doing this
thing?
anyway, it's a good thing.
So do they have to keep it up, or do they?
Yeah, most do. A lot of times it lasts longer, and like the scar tissue lasts. So it's really up to you and your provider. Again, this is why we're getting into problems. Is that you as a patient don't always see yourself, and then the provider, that's how they make their money. Or again, some of them don't have any taste. Let's just be blunt. But it does tend to last longer and longer in the mouth or a lot of places.
Are there side effects of Botox? I know for me, I'll
You
be
mean
very
Botox?
TMI,
Yeah.
for example. Like it constipates me. That's one thing that I see.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't believe I've been ever told that in all the years I've been doing this.
Really?
The most common side effect, of course, first and foremost, is a bruise, soreness,
I get headaches.
headaches. You can get a headache from it, again. But there are other, you say Botox, and I will say this. When you say Botox, and I think you're meaning it in the term of saying Kleenex instead of tissue. So when you say Botox, there's Dysport, which has less of the protein of the toxin, so maybe that one will give you less of a headache. There's also Xeomin, which has no accessory proteins, and that they're claiming that they tried to call it pure tox, and of course the FDA said you're not calling this pure tox because you can't say that.
So which do you prefer to use?
I prefer whatever works well for you because I do them all.
How do you know what works and what doesn't
Not
work on a
until you-
person?
Because you have to try it. It's like Coke and Pepsi. They're both colas. Which do you like better?
Which works better on me? Do you remember?
I think we've only really done Botox possibly on you. I mean, Botox is the gold standard. I'm not going to lie. It's been around the longest. But Dysport certainly has been around 20 years or something probably. I think it's, when did we start that? In 2000? No, 2002 is when Botox got FDA approved. So, I mean, it's just,
18 years.
it's been around a long time.
Okay.
The newest one is Jeuveau from Korea. And that seems to work much more like Botox than Xeomin does. But again, ask your provider what they're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with all of them because they've used all of them. Botox just tends to be the number one because, again, it's been around and it's the Kleenex of tissue versus puffs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to talk about something that's really a little controversial, kind of scary. So, there have been people who have gone blind from filler.
Fillers, yes.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. Where the most common place of this is midline, basically. So that is between your brows, right on down to your nose. And I used to do
Fillers for the nose.
And I used to fill in between. I no longer do.
In between the eyes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know
Why would you do this?
because I could fix a nose with HA. And
Instead
a lot
of getting
people,
a nose job.
Yeah, and a lot of
somebody-
people still do. My suggestion is you go to a surgeon to do that because that's their expertise. If you've got a really good nose surgeon that says he can do this with filler, you certainly don't want to inject your nose if you've had a nose job because then things change with the surgery. You see, I used to do noses as long as I stayed in the midline. I thought it was safe. After these cadaver classes that I've gone to, we talked about almost 30% of us that vein goes right down the middle of your nose.
Wow.
So 30%'s a lot. And I know I'm good at what I do. I'm not arrogant at what I do. I'm human.
Yeah.
And the more you do, the more risk you are. So when
So
my
the
patients
risk-
come in and they say, "Oh, Rand, you used to fill me right in between my brow," and I go, "Better to have been lucky than smart."
So
Now we know I'm not doing it.
because we know someone in LA lost her vision in
Yeah,
one eye.
She's got part of her vision back.
Right. And so she did filler in her forehead.
She did, yes, between her brows.
And it hit a vein.
It went into actually an artery.
And that artery went straight back to the brain.
No, to her retina.
To her retina.
Blocked it.
And immediately.
Yeah, well, I think it was like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, she was still at the office when she had lost
Oh,
her.
yeah. It's there. And the doctor did all that they could. It's just, again, it's an area that I don't inject anymore because of those reasons, and I haven't for a few years. It's on our Instagram, or was, and I even, I do a regular segment on Extra, one of their beauty consultants, and we even did the nose on TV. I've taken it down our website and our Instagram. I can't take it off the internet, but yet I don't do those anymore. And again, I would suggest you seeing your nose surgeon for that.
So where else is kind of risky? Because I think you mentioned that the temples are risky.
Well, everywhere is risky.
So everywhere. So
there's areas that are safer.
Okay, so
nothing's safe, but there's areas, and there's
what
a way
does that
to
mean?
inject
Nothing
it.
is safe.
Well, that means there's always a possibility. Always.
Of what?
Of an issue or of a problem. I mean, Botox, as I said, the worst that can happen with Botox typically is a droop, or the muscle relaxes that you don't want it to relax.
Like an eye droop.
Right. But those go away.
Yeah.
Again, the bad news about Botox is it goes away. The good thing is it goes away.
So what is the worst story you ever heard about Botox health-wise? Like, has there ever been anything that has happened?
back in the 2000s, there was Chinese Botox that came out. And I don't know if you remember that, but people ended up in ICU with not breathing. But again,
it was made in China.
Yes, but it was also industrial. It wasn't meant for people, kind of a thing.
What was it meant for?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
So,
but it wasn't. It really wasn't for us. And I know about it because they brought it around my office and said, "Hey, here's some Botox. You can do it cheaper and call it." And I go, "But."
Well, that's what's happening with vaccines. My doctor, for example, she's like, "Oh, there's a major problem with vaccines coming from China and the U.S." And she said, "I get my vaccines from France. And this is something I've been saying for so long, that there are cheaper medicines coming from different parts of the world."
Well, yes, unfortunately, it's like the excipients in a lot of these drugs, they're switching out to be cheaper, and then there's problems. Yes.
So what happened with this Chinese Botox?
People had to be put on ventilators because they couldn't breathe. But again, this is not from our Botox, and I will say this: you should be careful when you see really cheap Botox, because we all pay the same amount for it. And unfortunately,
where would they be getting it from?
Mexico or Canada, because it's way cheaper. Way cheaper. We pay twice as much as Canada and almost 3 times as much as Mexico.
And how much should somebody pay for a unit? What's a price versus a normal price versus a cheap price? Do you know that?
Well, $9 or $10 a unit's pretty cheap. Although there's some really great injectors that do it as a lost leader almost to get you in.
Yeah.
And then they upsell you.
Oh my God.
I just don't do that. I'm not the cheapest in town, and I'm not the most expensive. But you're not paying for the filler, you're paying for the filler.
When I see 20-year-olds who are on the cover of Vogue, getting so many injections, having their nose done, having so much plastic surgery, looking so much different than what they originally looked like. But since that has happened, do you see that younger girls are coming in trying to attain?
Oh my God, of course. That's the thing I'm having a hard time with as well.
And do you find that they're insecure and really hard on themselves and really judging themselves for this,
What's unfortunate is that most of us, not most of us, I should say, are insecure, but many.
So let's take somebody who was getting work done in the 80s and 90s, who right now doesn't look so good, right? Is that going to happen in the next 15 years with these girls who are getting work done at 20? We don't know what their face is going to look like at 35.
We don't.
Are you worried?
Yes. There's too many variables.
Like, I didn't start anything till I was 35.
Right. You're not going to have to worry if you kind of stick with me, because I won't let you.
What do you think the next trend is going to be?
Well, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't get into trends, because the trends are also some places I don't like. I think the biggest key takeaway is just to not overdo anything. right?
Yeah. And to
Right.
accept yourself and
A
love
bit.
yourself and
No, always.
and be okay with gracefully aging.
And gracefully aging doesn't mean you don't do things. It means you don't get carried away or get caught up.
Yeah.
You see, a bit of vain is very healthy because it makes one take care of themselves. But when you become self-centered or your whole idea is your looks, then I'm going to feel very sorry for you because everyone gets older.
Yeah.
Everyone. Or they don't.
I'd like to end this with saying one thing. If I didn't take care of my face every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably look 10 years older, but you really have to have a regimen of hydrating your face, using the Retin-A's, going for the facials, getting a little bit of the laser, doing all of that. Maintenance really also keeps you looking young for a lot longer versus just going to bed with your makeup on.
Yes, but it also is a slow thing. Like you doing these things, you won't notice you looking better until it's later.
Yeah. Oh, this was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. And
Anytime.
maybe the next segment we can go to the office and we can do a little, whenever Rand does any treatment, he goes, ouch, and then he just does a little.
Well, it's a warning. That's all it is. Yep. A little ouch. It's
Yeah.
my trademark. All right. Thanks for having me.
That
Thank
was
you.
great.
Nateurious, guys, season 1.
That was amazing.